All right, so this is me. Sorry, just sitting down here. So this is EJ from Team Wiz Pro. I have set up a little demo game with my roommate, Mark.
Hello.
He is never played this game before, only heard me talking about it. And I'm going to use him as kind of an example for teaching and showing off how to play the game here.
Uh, yeah, just to let you know, I'm effectively starting from zero. I know that this is a game that apparently involves cards and dice. I know that I saw something about figures, and I watched them make their most recent video, so yeah, I have no idea what's going on.
That's good. This video is going to be for people going in blind, so the newer the better. Now, what is Dice Masters? Unlike a normal card game where you bring a custom deck of cards, you bring a 10-card team. Here for this sample game, we cut the team sizes down a little to 6. We've got, I'll go more into the card details here in a moment. And you bring the dice associated with each card. During the game, you start with 8 basic dice. That's these dice here called sidekick dice. You use those to purchase the character and action dice you brought. Sort of like if you've ever played a deck building game, this is actually a dice building game. So you can't use the cards or the characters until you've actually purchased the dice for them. The sets are based on different fictional worlds, most based on comics or other games. Right now there's Marvel, DC, Dungeons & Dragons, Yu-Gi-Oh! Coming next year there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and possibly even Street Fighter. So what we've got here today is the 2 most recent starter sets. I'm using a team built straight from the Age of Ultron starter deck, Marvel's most recent set. And the most absolutely recent set is the DC War of Light set that Mark is using. So I built these teams fresh out of the starter kits using what I think are some of the better cards, hopefully, just to help get a grasp on the game. What each player normally has is each player brings 2 basic action cards. For me, that's Hulk Out and Nasty Plot. For Mark, that's going to be Lethal Force and Stealth Ops. Each player brings 2 of these. All basic action cards are found in either the starter decks or in the collector's box for sets that have those associated with them. The dice, the sidekick dice, and these color-coded basic action dice are also only found in the starters and collector's boxes as well. These basic actions have no actual dice associated to them. What you do is each of these deck boxes comes with a little color card that you associate with them. We don't really need them for this demo since we're only using 4 different dice colors. But for example, I've got yellow associated with Nasty Plot, so I put a yellow card under that. That way you know that these yellow dice are associated with Nasty Plot, because for any other deck I use, I could just use these yellow dice, or indigo, green, or pink, whatever. So these dice are not actually tied to the card except for the game you're using them for. Now there are action cards, action dice. Those are different. Those are just like character cards. They'll come in packs and they'll have their own dice associated to them, and they'll have their own little face symbol. So as you can see with these character cards, normally each player brings 8 character or action cards. I've cut it down to 4 just for this demo game, but you can have up to 8, and then you bring dice associated to them. You can bring up to 20 character dice, not counting these. You can bring up to 20 of these. Each character or non-basic action will tell you what the limit is for bringing the dice forward. Traditionally, the max is 4 for most of these characters. There are some with max dice of, there's a very short run of cards that go all the way up to 5 from the original set. Most are 4. Some actions will say a max of 3. There are some stronger characters that even have a max dice limit of 2 or 1. So let's get started. Let me double check to make sure we don't have anything else to go over. Life totals, we start at 20. For each player, I use these Magic the Gathering spin down dice for that. You can use a D20, you can use pen and paper, you can use whatever to track life. Some play mats will have these life counters at the bottom, so you can just mark where you're at in life total. Now, these playmats, they may look a little weird. You notice a lot of zones on them. This is more official looking as far as what the actual mat will look like in the book or with the game. This one's kind of custom. So if you're looking for reference, kind of look more towards Mark's mat over here. Now, things are going to get a little tricky and complicated as we go about. I'll try to explain this best I can. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I asked some players what was confusing them when they first started the game. I kind of made a little checklist here of things to make sure that I go over. So first things first, as with every game, we need to decide who's going first. There are many different ways to do this. Locally, what we do is we take all of our sidekick dice and we roll them and see who gets the most question marks.
I have 1.
I have 1. I have 5. Why can't this happen in actual games? So you'll notice each sidekick die has 6 faces. It's got this little pawn face on it. That's called the sidekick face. If you roll a sidekick die and a pawn face, you may treat it as an actual character and put it into your field and attack and block with it. Then there's the 4 basic energy types. There's Fist, Mask, Bolt, and Shield. And then there's the question mark side, which if you roll a question mark side, you can use that as any of the other energy types. Now, what are these energy types? Well, you'll notice on some of these cards in the upper left-hand corner, they have one of those symbols. For example, Guy Gardner has Fist, Luther has Shield, Batman has Mask, and Iron Man has Bolt. And these symbols will show up in card text as well occasionally, and on the card die faces. For example, Natasha can roll one of her, most characters can roll one of their 3 character faces, or they can roll a double energy face or a single energy face. So for the basic sidekick dice, what we do is that after we determine who goes first, the first player, these go into your dice bag. Each starter deck comes with a dice bag. Up until now, they've been either red or blue, and you can use any sort of dice bag as long as you can't see what's in the bag when it's fully closed. These new ones have some nice artwork on them based on the set itself. So all the dice go into the bag. Generally, people are kind of lax with the first starting dice because all you're going to have is just these 8 sidekick dice. So for now, I'm just going to have my 4 dice here, and I'm going to roll them to start my turn. Now, if I had anything that was still on my field in what's called my reserve pool, if I had any energy left over, before I did anything rolling dice, they would go to my used pile over here. The used pile is kind of like a discard pile or a graveyard in some games. And I'll explain the other sections as we go along. So for my first roll, I rolled 4 energy, a bolt, a mask, and 2 question marks. So there's a lot I can do here. So now after that's done, what I would have the option to normally do is I could take any of these dice, set them aside, and then once per turn I get a reroll before I move on to my other phases, and I can reroll these dice. Now I'm not going to because this looks pretty good here for what I can have available. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I want to get some stuff into my bag, so I will spend a mask and a bolt to buy Black Widow. Now here's a very important thing that I want to explain to people because this is a rule that is kind of tricky and kind of confusing for some people. Whenever you, on your turn, spend energy to purchase something or activate ability, what happens is that energy that you spend goes out of play, or what some players will refer to as the transition zone. It's not usually marked on mats like this because it's not an actual play zone. Those dice are effectively in limbo right now. They'll come back, And then anything you buy, unless it says otherwise, goes to the used pile. So right now I spent my 2 energy on Black Widow. These are out of play. Generally, players might put them down at the far bottom of their used pile zone, just as a way to indicate that. But I'll put them actually off the mat so you can show that those are out of play. Now I've still got 2 dice in my reserve pool, and it's still in main phase, so I can buy or use them as I wish. I could activate some of these globals on the field, but I have no reason to yet, so I'm going to spend them, move them out of play, and buy another Black Widow. So now I've got 2 characters in my used pile. Characters themselves, once you actually get them, you can have any number of dice on the field that are from that same character. However, some characters that have abilities, when you have them on the field, will say something like, when active. Now, what that means is that when you have a card and you buy that die and you roll it and you've got that character face on the field, what this means is now that, for this example, I have Black Widow on the field, having that die itself on the field turns on my Black Widow card and makes her active. So if a character says, for example, when active, all your dice or all your characters get +1/+1. What that means is all you need is 1 character fielded from that card, and that ability is active, it's turned on, all your characters get +1/+1. If I field another one, well, it's like flicking a light switch on when it's already on. It's not going to do anything extra. So I've put those 2 in my used pile. Here is another tricky aspect to this game. Now, I have nothing left that I want to do on my turn. Instead of just ending my turn, what I now have to do is I have to pass priority to my opponent, Mark. Because before I end my turn, or actually before I leave my main phase, Mark will get a chance to do anything. Currently, there's nothing to do. But in later turns, this will be important. So I pass my priority to Mark. He chooses to do nothing, passes back priority to me. I could go into combat, but since I have nothing to attack with or in my field, I end my turn. So now it's Mark's turn. He'll draw his first 4 dice for the game and roll them. Alright, Mark has got a sidekick, a shield, a mask, and a question mark. Do you wish to re-roll anything?
Now, my understanding is that, especially at the beginning, it is best to buy dice.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that when you purchased Natasha the first time, that you used 2 different types of die to purchase her. Is that cost, does that have to be, let's say, if I wanted to get Guy Gardner here, or Lex Luthor, could I use the mask, the question mark, and the shield to purchase Lex Luthor, or would I need to purchase him with only shields and question marks?
Excellent question. So, purchasing a die, you look at the top left corner and you look at its energy type. For example, Black Widow is a mask, meaning that, and the number is how many energy you need to spend to buy that die. So Black Widow costs 2 and is a mask, meaning that I have to spend 2 energy, at least 1 has to be a mask. There are effects in this game that will reduce costs of characters and dice to purchase. You may never reduce a cost below 1. It always has to cost at least 1. That way, if it has energy associated with it, you have to pay that type cost. For example, if I reduced Black Widow's cost by 2 somehow, I would still have to spend at least 1 mask to purchase her.
Well then,
so any dice, any character you buy, you have to spend at least 1 of their associated energy, and the rest can be anything. Now, one thing I forgot to mention while Mark is deciding, once my turn officially shifts to my opponent, all those dice that I said are out of play and in transition, or whatever you want to call it, now they go to the used pile since it's the end of my turn.
Well, I don't think that having a side... Since I don't know much about the game and going off of your... I don't think a sidekick is going to be that useful at this juncture. I can probably do you with a 1 damage, but you have 20, and I think that buying things would probably be better now. I'm just guessing, so I'm going to re-roll the sidekick.
All right, that's not a bad train of thought. Once you start getting a grasp of the rules and how the team that you want to build works, it's a lot easier to determine that kind of decision. But learning the game, that's not an unfair assumption.
And now, considering that I have 4 energy, I could either buy 2 Guy Gardeners, one of the 3s,
But
or
Mark,
1 Batman.
But Mark, can you buy 2 Guy Gardeners?
No, I cannot buy 2 Guy Gardeners, so I'm going to buy 1 Batman.
Okay.
Since I only have 1 effective fist, and I need a fist to buy another Guy Gardener, I think I'm going to buy a Batman, because
That's correct.
who can go wrong with Batman?
Not a bad assumption.
And
Now,
so then,
there's one other thing I need to mention as far as purchases go. You also have the option, while it might not be a fantastic idea immediately, these basic action that you can purchase, you can buy mine as well. My characters are off limits to you, but basic action, whatever basic action you bring, each of these 4 basic action are up for grabs for either player.
well, then before I do that, I will take a look at your 2 costs one,
Definitely.
which is Hulk Out. 1 target character die gains Overcrush until end of turn. That character also gets melee,
Now-
plus 1A or plus 1 attack, I assume. So now I still think I'm going to go with Batman as Batman. Just
That's fine.
who's
But
Batman
for
and
example,
what's
if you went with the Guy Gardener for the question mark and 1 of your energy, you could spend the other 2 on a Hulk Out die.
Yeah.
Now, Overcrush, let me explain that one real quick. Mark, to sum this up easily enough for you, it's Trample.
Okay.
If you've ever played Magic the Gathering and know what Trample is, the easiest way to explain it. But for those who are new to this entirely, basically what that means, if I attack with a character, they have the option to block with a character. So let's just say, for example, that Mark has Batman out and I have Black Widow out. Now, say he wanted to attack with Batman, and for the sake of this example, Batman has Overcrush, meaning he's a 3/4 attacking me. I could choose to either take the 3, but if I don't want to, I can block with Black Widow. Now, in blocking with Black Widow with Batman, you would compare the attack, which is the top right number, or you would compare Batman's attack, which is the top right number, to my defending character's defense, which is the bottom right number. He has 3 more -2, 3 is greater than 2. Black Widow would not survive that combat. Now, normally that would still stop the damage entirely. But since this is an example, Batman has Overcrush, whatever that number, if that number is greater than my defending character's defense, I subtract the defense from the attack, and then I would still take the rest as damage. Normally that's not the case.
So then I put these in the use pile.
Oh, no. Before you end your
wait a
turn.
minute. Yes. You have turn now.
You're passing priority.
Priority.
I choose to do nothing. Now, one more thing I need to bring up. Say, for example, Mark passes me priority, and I've still got 2 energy in my reserve pool. What I would be able to do in that case is I could activate a global. I would spend the energy to activate the global. Now, if I were to spend that energy during Mark's or my opponent's turn, where I normally said that things would go to the transition zone, if it's not my turn, instead, they will just go straight to the used pile. Now that comes up commonly for a specific effect that I'll explain before the end of this video.
So I now put these there, since I am done and I can't attack, so these are now used.
Alright, so I draw another 4 dice out of my bag. It's the remaining 4 starter dice that I began with. Hopefully things are making a little more sense for you watching and for you, Mark. Once we get out of the bulk of those out of the way, it becomes a lot more simpler to figure out. We can move on to assessing strategy and customization. So there we've got that. Well, I don't have anything I can buy for shield, so I think I want to re-roll that. My Ultron costs a fist, but he's too expensive right now, so I want to re-roll that. I could keep the sidekick if I want, but if I do, I'm not going to have enough energy for the Iron Man. So I either keep the bolt or I keep the sidekick. Oop, 1 second here. I forgot to plug my laptop again. Sorry about the interruption, folks. Okay, and we're back. Sorry about the technical difficulty there. So what I was debating was whether or not I want to reroll the bolt or the sidekick. I want to go big or go home, I think, so I'm going to reroll the sidekick.
I thought you said you could only reroll one die.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Once per turn.
Oh, once
You
per
can take any amount and re-roll them, but I could. After that, you're done.
Okay.
There we go. I got 4 energy. I could buy another Black Widow, I could buy a Hawkeye, or I could buy an Iron Man, or I could buy any of these basic actions. I think I will just go for that Iron Man. So these go out of play. The Iron Man die goes to my used pile. And I pass priority to Mark.
I can do nothing, so you...
I end my turn.
Alright, I roll these for rain.
It's a little slow going in the beginning, but things pick up speed pretty quick.
I think that I will re-roll these 2.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I will re-roll these 3 because I don't have anything that I can use for that energy.
Okay.
And so I have shield, fist, and bolt. Now, as I don't know much, but I think that I'm going to purchase one Guy Gardner.
Used pile.
And then I will also purchase a Hulk out.
Not a bad strategy there.
And then I pass priority to you.
Pass back to you.
I can do nothing, so these go into my used pile.
Okay. So now it's my turn, and my bag's empty. Game over, I lose. No, I'm just kidding. So my bag's empty. So what I do now is whenever you go to draw a die from your bag and it's empty, you take all the dice that are in your used pile and you put them in, shake the bag up, and now I go about drawing however many die I was supposed to, which in this case was 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't draw any of my characters, but I got more sidekicks, so I can purchase more. A sidekick and 3 fists. Again, the fists aren't going to do me any good. And I still don't think I want the sidekick. Although next turn, Mark could get out one of his characters. Yeah, I think I'll keep the sidekick, actually. And I'll roll some of these, since I didn't get any of my actual purchase characters this turn. Oh, there's a sidekick, a shield, and a mask. So since I'm keeping the sidekicks, I'll go ahead and move those to the field. Whenever you have a character, you move it to the field in order to activate it or use it. In this case, they're just sidekicks. They're 1/1s. They represent mundane associates in this combat, flavor-wise. And I could buy another Black Widow, or I could buy a Hulk out, are my options. Now, one thing to consider is that if I buy Black Widow and don't get a character face, I at least get some mask energy. But on the basic energy, if I roll it, I get generic energy. So do I not care and I can go for generic, or do I want basic energy? I do already have 2 Black Widows, so I think what I'll do is I'll spend these, they'll go out of play, and I'll buy a Hulk out die myself. I've got nothing left to do, so I'll pass to Mark.
Pass it back, as I can do nothing.
I'll end my turn.
Now, I am curious, could you have attacked me with those, and what would be the disadvantages of using those to attack me now?
Good question. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So, I had those characters fielded. Now, before I ended my turn, what I could have done was, after he passed priority back to me, I could then choose to enter my combat. Oh, sorry, we got a die on the floor here. Alright, so I could have chosen to enter combat and declared an attack with one or both of these dice. Mark has no blockers, so we wouldn't worry about that part, and both of these attackers would go through to Mark directly. Now, whenever a character, be it a sidekick or an actual character die, whenever a character is unblocked and deals their damage to the opponent, that character is considered to have been used. So if I attack, he doesn't block, it goes to the used pile. And now I don't have a blocker. So I can do the damage and hope that I don't get much on the retaliation, or I can save them for blockers, which in this case I wanted them as blockers, so attacking wouldn't make much sense. Now, say I attack, and he had a sidekick out of his own, and they blocked each other. Since they would both die, what happens when a character gets knocked out, it will go to this area, which is called the prep area. I'll explain more on that in a bit.
Now, since you're worried about this, I think I should keep that as a blocker. And I think that I'm happy with this energy, that I'm going to keep that. So I think that I'm going to be purchasing a Lex Luthor.
All right.
And then I put that onto the field, and then I pass priority to you.
I have nothing, so I pass back to you. You can choose to end your turn or enter combat.
I choose to end my turn.
All right. So I go from my bag, and I draw 4 more dice. All right. I scored big on the characters this round. Or did I? So I got a character on my sidekick, but no characters on my dice. They could still be used as energy, but I want the character faces. And I've got 2 sidekicks out, so I really don't want this as a sidekick. So I'm going to reroll everything. Well, wow. Well, I got more energy, but this is still a sidekick. I'll go ahead and field it. So these are in my field zone. Now, right now I've got 6 energy. So this is what's known as ramp. Now I've got more than the standard 4 energy. I could buy Ultron. Unfortunately, none of these are fists. That's important when you're customizing your team later. So, I can't buy Ultron. I could still buy other characters. I could spend these energy just like other dice. I think with the combination that I've got here, what I'm going to do is I will spend 2 bolts and 1 mask. Since I'm only spending half the energy on this, I spin it down to its single mask face. And, oops, sorry, that goes out of play. And I will buy a Hawkeye die. And I will spend the rest of this energy, to buy a second Hawkeye die. So now I've got 2 Hawkeyes purchased. And these are out of play until it's Mark's turn, which I'll pass priority to Mark.
Pass priority back to you.
Alright, I can choose to enter combat. I've got more attackers than he has blockers, so I could get in a bit of damage. But again, I'll save it, so I make it his turn.
Okay.
Alright, so he's got his Batman and his Guy Gardner.
Okay. So I've got, looks like 4 fist energy and I think the best Batman attacking.
Right, so let me explain here. What he rolled was Batman's level 3 face. Each of these faces, going from left to right, is the corresponding level of that character. Level 1, 2, and 3. What Mark did was he rolled onto Batman's level 3 face. There are effects that let you spin up and spin down characters' levels. So, there's a number you'll see on the upper left-hand corner. On that Batman face, that is 3. What that means is that that's a fielding cost of 3. So you've already bought the die, but now that you've got a powerful face roll, unlike a sidekick, you have to pay to actually field it at that cost.
And how do you pay? What do you pay with?
You pay with energy just like normal, but for fielding cost, it's always whatever energy combination you wish. So you could pay, in this case you only have fists, but you pay 3 in order to field him.
Oh, okay. So
You could gamble and try to roll him on a lower fielding cost face.
So at this point, it is, do I want to spend this entire turn bringing Batman out, or do I want to try something else? What is this global use one the first time, the global effect? Could I play that when I don't have Batman out? And also, what exactly does the first time you play a basic action this turn, draw one die and add it to your prep area?
All right, so now we're getting into globals. So, what this means is, first thing, what is global? Global is an additional ability on your character card that sometimes appear on character cards and actions. They appear in red, and we'll say global, and usually have a cost associated to them. Globals, first of all, can be used by either player. If I bring a global, my opponent has access to it as well. For globals, you do not have to have that character active. Globals are automatically always an option. And what Batman's ability in particular says is he can pay 1, which that's a generic one, so you can pay 1 of any energy. The first time you play a basic action die a turn, so the first time you use one of these, like for example, if you get the Hulk out that you bought off of me, you may draw a die, which, like normal, you just draw a die out of your bag, and place it in your prep area, which means this area over here. Here's what the prep area is. Dice go to the prep area when they're knocked out, or if an effect puts them in the prep area. Dice come out of the prep area at the beginning of your turn. What you do is you draw your 4 dice, and then you take any dice that are in the prep area and shuffle, and you roll them all at once together. So putting things in the prep area is another example of how to get more than 4 energy per turn. Think of it as ramp, if you will.
Okay, considering that I currently don't have the ability, that I might want to be using Batman for something else, I think that I am going to be re-rolling all of these.
Okay.
It may not be the best move, but I do not know enough to make that distinction.
Fair enough.
Now what I have is I have 3 energy, and I have a Batman that costs 2, and I have a thingy. So this definitely has to go to the field since I can't re-roll.
It doesn't have to, but there's not much else you can do with it.
Yes. Now I have 3 energy, so do I want to either purchase an action, such or another Lex Luthor, or that would be, do I bring Batman to the field? Oh, and question, if I do have energy left over at the end of a turn, where does that go? Does that just disappear, or?
You keep energy in your reserve pool until the beginning of your next turn, so you can use things on my turn, such as globals.
Okay, do you have any globals?
I've got 1 global on Ultron. It says you may pay 2 fists to force an opposing character to block a character die of your choice this turn.
Well, I don't think I want that, but I think that I am just going to go with the subpar option of bringing Batman out.
I actually don't think that's a bad option for you right now.
Okay, well then I don't know enough about this game to decide what is. So,
well, you've got a big character as opposed to my 3 small ones, so we're even on characters, but you're ahead on size of them.
And oh, actually no, I will keep the mask out and I'll put this back there.
All right.
And now I think that it would make sense to attack, because then I can trade 1 for 1, and then yours would all die, and my Batman should still be out there. Question: can you block? Can multiple blockers block 1 character?
Yes. For example, if I wanted to, I could have all 3 of these block Batman. Batman would still get knocked out because that's only a total attack of 3 versus your 5 defense.
But okay, so I'm going to attack with the.
Now, before you attack,
I have to pass turn to you.
Right, you have to pass priority before the end of your main phase.
Okay, I pass priority to you.
I have nothing to do, so I pass priority back to you. But one other thing, remember, I have the option to not block, meaning that I'll take all that damage, but then all those dice go to the used pile. instead of staying on the field.
Oh yes. And I probably want to keep Batman out here um, because when he is active, if you use an action dice, that or
If any player uses
yeah,
a basic action die.
dice, uh, to if so he deals 1 damage to you. But so I will, but I feel like having this. No, actually, I'm just gonna keep those out there. Yeah. So at this point, I'm going to end my turn.
One subtle benefit about having these sidekicks out on the field is that they're not going through the bag. So as you're purchasing characters, you're drawing more of those characters and less of the actual sidekick dice.
Okay.
So it's probably a good turn for you. I'll draw. I've only got 3 dice this time, so that means everything in my used goes to my bag, and I only have to draw 1 more. And I got Black Widow. If there were any dice in my prep area, I would add them to my hand and roll. Alright, so I got 3 energy and a face on Black Widow. Let's see here. And it would cost 1 to bring out the Black Widow. So I think what I will do... I will spend 1 to recruit a Black Widow to field her, and then I will pay 2 to buy another one. And then I'll pass priority to Mark.
I will pass priority back to you.
Alright.
As I don't think I can be doing anything with that 1 energy at this time.
Now, for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and declare an attack with Black Widow. Now, as I attack, I need to let my opponent know that Black Widow has an ability that determines combat. Black Widow can't be blocked unless my opponent spins down one of their character dice. Now, these cannot be spent down because they only have 1 level 1 face. Character dice like Batman could be spun down to their lowest to a lower level in order to be able to block. But is it worth it in this case?
In this case, I don't think... I think having a 5/5 is worth the 2 damage, so I will take the 2 damage.
Alright, so first blood. Mark takes 2 damage, and since Black Widow did damage was not blocked, she goes to the used pile.
So does it go to the used pile only if it does not get blocked?
Only if it's not blocked.
Ah, okay.
Your turn.
My turn? Well, I have 3 dice. So these... And since this
that
is the,
goes to your used pile now.
So
this could be a good turn for you now.
all right, I have this 2. Is this 2 generic energy?
Yep.
All right. Or I could... Let's see. I think that I'm going to re-roll everything.
Good. I probably would have recommended that.
All right. I have the basic Guy Gardner, which costs 0. I have the 1. Now, let's see. I see that this has the 1 asterisk side. What does that mean exactly?
So each basic action face and some character faces will have what's known as bursts on their side. And their effect will tell you what the burst does. So in Hulkout's example, on a level 1 or 2 burst face, it specifies either or, otherwise it would only be the appropriate face. That character die also gets +1 attack. So this turn, if he uses Hulkout on a character, it will get +1 attack as well as the Overcrush.
Okay. So
now to kind of shortcut here, basically this is a good turn for you because you can field Guy Gardner Blinding Rage. And look at Guy Gardner's ability.
Yes, and he must attack each turn with Able, but he gets +1 attack for each other attacking die.
That's right. So if you attacked with even so much as just him and your 2 sidekicks, that would be 2, 3, 4 extra attack. That would be 2 extra attacks, so it'd be a total of 4.
Yes.
And could get another one if you attack with Batman as well. But I think you're fine hanging on to Batman.
Now, I also have these 2 energy, which I think that getting another Hulkout die would be, the last remaining Hulkout would be a very good use for.
That's true.
and then
So those goes to your
and
out
then
of play.
yeah, and this the Hulk out. I think I will put that on Guy Gardner.
Now, real quick, I'd recommend just
Oh.
hanging on to that in your reserve pool.
Okay.
Because the way actions work is that after attackers and blockers have been declared, then beginning with the player's turn it is when you can activate globals and actions as well.
Okay.
So you can wait to see how I'm going to block first.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. So I think that I will attack with these 3. So that is now a 4/2 attacker.
That's a 4/2. Now I see the Hulk out. I'm not really dumb, so I know what can happen here, but it's not going to save me from taking the damage either way. I could gang up and block Guy Gardner so I take as little damage as possible. But since I'm going to be taking a good chunk of that damage anyway, I think I want him to just go through. That way he at least goes back to the used pile. I can attack, I can block the sidekicks with his sidekicks, and then for both of us, they'll just go to the prep area instead. It'll give him a bit of ramp, but it'll give me a bit of ramp as well. So I think what I'll do is I'll declare these 2, 1 blocker each, on the sidekicks.
Well, then one of the sidekicks, I will spend that. So Batman's ability actives, and you activates.
So I take 1 damage due
Yes.
to the fact that he activated a basic action and Batman is active. And then, now that that's happened, we apply the damage calculations. This is a 1/1 versus a 1/1. They'll KO each other. This is a 2/1 versus a 1/1. They'll KO each other, but I'll take another 1. And now I'm taking 4 directly to the face, so I go down to 14, and Guy Gardner goes to use. Now these 2 were KO'd, so they go to the prep area.
Okay.
And then the action goes to use as appropriate. Damage and all those effects, basically, you sort them out step by step, but mechanically speaking, all that takes place at the same time.
Okay. And so then, since I've acted and this is blocked, I believe it's your turn now?
Yep. Now, if you had an extra energy available, that's also when you could have done the global for Batman as well.
Oh yeah.
But you still had a pretty good turn.
Oh yeah.
So.
Okay.
All right. Gonna draw a 4. 1, 2, 3. 4. All right. This looks like a good turn for me as well. Add these 2 to the pile. So what do you think so far, Mark?
Interesting, and there could be a lot of potential combinations, and it looks like this can be a game where there could be a lot of different interactions, which I know that how much you like that in Magic, and it looks like this could appeal to you much in the same way.
Definitely options galore. Alright, so what I rolled ended up being this. Okay, so what I will do is I will pay the 2 generic and a mask to buy another Hawkeye. I will pay this fist to field this Iron Man. Iron Man is not on his burst phase, so normally if when he attacks, I may pay a bulk to give him +2 attack that turn, but without my Hulk out die being on an action phase or the bolt itself, that's not going to help me. I'll field another sidekick, and I'll field Hawkeye. Now I've got a nice little wall in front of me. Pass priority to Mark.
Pass priority back to you.
Alright, so I gotta choose whether or not to attack. If I attack with Iron Man, he blocks with Batman. Iron Man dies. If I attack with Hawkeye, Batman can block. Hawkeye would die.
Wait a minute. But question: if you get KO'd, then you go and are rolled next turn. So a character can get KO'd and roll next turn, and then just keep up an infinite cycle of that.
Unless I roll an energy face. 1 second, folks.
Hey, Ender. Hello? Ender?
You're just getting all kind of pocket dials today.
Ender, are you there?
Okay, so anyway. Yes, a KO'd character, it is technically a little better to be KO'd than set to the used pile. Think of it, Mark, this way. I'll put it in Magic terms. The used pile is kind of like going to the graveyard, where the prep area is like being tapped, and you untap next turn.
Ender?
I'm going to punch you, Ender.
Okay.
Alright, one of our friends is trying to contact Mark here.
Or not.
Yeah.
So, sorry about that.
That's fine. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do here is, it might not be the smartest play, but just to get some action going, I will declare an attack with both of these.
Okay.
Now, first things first, Hawkeye has an ability that triggers when he attacks. So does Iron Man, but we already established I can't activate it. But Hawkeye triggers. When Hawkeye attacks, choose an opposing character die who must either block Hawkeye or take 2 damage.
Okay.
So here's the conundrum for you. You could take 2 damage, and then either character you block with Batman, Batman will get knocked out. Or you can just choose to block Hawkeye, which is 3 attack, and take Iron Man, who's 4 attack.
Well, okay. I think that so you're using that ability on Batman to make Batman block Hawkeye.
No.
Or take 2 damage.
Right. I am choosing Hawkeye, or I am choosing Batman, and you must choose whether or not he is forced to block Hawkeye or take 2 damage.
He is forced to block Hawkeye.
Okay. So that means that Batman will be blocking Hawkeye, Hawkeye gets knocked out, Iron Man gets through directly and deals you 4 damage. Now, if I had a bolt readily available, that would be a much riskier play.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and I've still got my sidekicks out.
All right. Now, is that the end of your turn?
That's... I'm trying to remember what... Oh, that's what I paid for the quick rounds. Yep, that's it for me.
Oh. Oops. I thought I had 4 less. I do not.
It's alright.
Then, with those, I also... So those have gone to the reserve
so
pool.
You roll all 6. That's a lot of question marks.
And...
Speaking of question marks, do you have any questions, Mark?
I think that I'm getting the hang of it,
Okay.
but let's see. This I do not exactly want. What do I want to do?
Well, double check Lex Luthor's ability.
Lex Luthor,
Since
if
you rolled
you
his character.
is active, if you have more life than your opponent at the beginning of your turn, you may draw an additional die. Now, we have equal life, but if I could activate that, that would have some potential. But
It's
now,
kind of like drawing an extra card if you're ahead in
when
money.
fielded, draw 2 dice. What I think that I'm going to do is I'm going to re-roll.
If you're going for John Stewart, I'd recommend just keeping the energy and re-rolling the sidekick in Lex Luthor. Because Lex Luthor is also shield energy, so you could potentially have enough to do more than just John Stewart. Alright, so you definitely have enough to cover John Stewart.
So I've got, at this point, I have 7 energy.
I'd recommend just dumping the 2 shields, your shield and your bolt, and your question mark. That saves you 2 question marks to activate or buy pretty much anything else for 2.
Okay. I think that I will do that. John Stewart, you're going there. And what I'm going to have now is I also think maybe getting a Guy Gardner. Or should I save it?
Since you have 2 question marks, I'm going to start pointing out some more stuff since you have a lot more options. This global requires 2 masks. You can spin a target character down 1 level. Probably not useful at the moment. This one allows you to spend 2 bolts to deal any character 1 damage. so you can knock out a sidekick, for example.
Okay.
And then there's Ultron, who we talked about earlier. You can pay 2 fists to force one of my characters to block Batman.
Okay.
Or block any one of your characters. So, for example, if you wanted to attack with Batman this turn and make sure that you knocked something out instead of just me letting it go through, you could do that.
But, you know, I don't think that knocking out a sidekick is the best use of 2 energy.
Fair enough. So, Guy Gardner's not probably a bad idea, but I was just pointing that other stuff out to you.
Thank you for that. As yes, I think I'm going to buy Guy Gardner, and then I will end my turn. Oh, no, I will pass priority to you.
Nothing to do.
I will not attack.
Okay.
And then I will end my turn.
All right. So I draw 3, add Hawkeye to that, and then add all these in here. I want those as characters, or at least as double energy. Shields aren't going to do me anything, and now there's this extra psychic, so I'm going to reroll all that. That's a little more interesting. So they've got another sidekick, I've got Hawkeye, and I've got 2 masks and a fist.
Oh, I have one question. If I put energy in my reserve pool, can I buy characters on your turn?
No, you can only purchase something on your own turn.
Okay.
Unless a special effect tells you otherwise.
All right.
I'll field the sidekick. I will spend a fist to field Hawkeye. And I guess I'll spend these to buy my last Black Widow. Pass priority to Mark.
Pass priority back to you.
I could attack, but it's not going to be as effective as my last turn, so I think I'll just hang on to him and leave him there. I'll make it Mark's turn.
Okay, I've got 1 dice, and and it looks like I did not draw anything good. So, alright. I have 4 energy. What do I want to do with said 4 energy? What do I want to do? I could buy another Batman. Or I could... What exactly does this do?
Nasty plot.
Draw 2 dice and put them in your prep area.
So it's kind of like drawing 2 cards-ish. You draw 2 you draw 2 dice, put them in prep area for next turn.
You know, I think that I'm going to buy a nasty plot.
Alright, so you can get a bit of maybe ramp going.
Yes.
So that would go into your used.
Used? Okay. And now I pass priority to you.
Right, so these are stuff that I'll play. This
I'm
is
sorry.
used. Either way. I got nothing to do.
Alright. And go.
Alright, so turn's mine. Let's see. I still got a bunch of dice in there, so I'll draw 4.
20. So I'm gonna have to be going pretty soon.
Alright, so there's my 4. Alright, reroll. Well, I'll reroll this. Alright, so I rolled all character faces. I'm going to field them all. And now I'm going to enter combat.
And I'm going to be like, oh shit.
I will attack with everything. I will say that this Hawkeye, Batman has to take 2 or block him.
I'm gonna have to block him because wait a minute, because otherwise my Batman will definitely die. Wait a minute. Wait Wait a minute. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't do that. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to block him, and I'm going to. I just lost and die.
All right. Now Batman has to take 2 or block him instead.
So you basically can make me take 2. I have to block both of them.
I
or
have
take
to resolve them. Basically, you can choose. Basically, you'll have to block a Hawkeye. You can keep
And-
optioning to block the Hawkeye die. I just have to continuously resolve
Okay,
the
but
effect. You don't have to do
but
the
if
2
I
damage
have
to him.
to, but if I block the one Hawkeye die, do I take 2
It
damage?
it overwrites the previous one.
Oh, okay. So I'm not taking. It's not like, well, no matter what you
Right.
do, you have to take. You're going to be taking 4 damage
Right.
from this.
And then Black Widow, you're not going to be able to block her.
So,
but if you want
so
to
I
use the
will
spin
block
damage.
that one.
Okay, so you'll still block a Hawkeye, and then everything else will go through. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 damage.
Okay.
So I took a big risk shoving all that through, but I feel comfortable in assuming that that was a good play, and this gets knocked down.
Okay, and now I.
So we should be just about done here, folks.
And let's see. I only have 2, but then. Okay, well, I think that I'm going to re-roll all of these.
You sure you don't want to have out John Stewart?
I think that I'm not sure if, what John Stewart would like out. I would like to have John Stewart up. I wanted a better one, and that did not work out. So I do have 5 energy.
Okay.
Now, most of it's shield, so I can
buy
buy
another
another Stewart.
Yep.
And is there anything else I could be doing at this point? No. And I'm just going...
Basic actions.
But, yeah, I'm just going to buy another Stewart and
Okay.
accept that I'm losing and fail miserably in that regard. So...
hey, it was a pretty close game for most of it.
Well, I might not lose next turn.
Alright, so we draw those. I got Iron Man, Hulk out, 2 sidekicks, and a Hawkeye. This definitely looks foreboding for you so far. Let's see what we get on Iron Man. I'm going to reroll the sidekick as well.
Okay, I've lost.
Yep. I will spend the fist to field Iron Man, give him the +1 attack and overcrush, so he's at 5. Declare my attack. Even if you block, I'll pay the bolt so he gets +2. That'll be a total of 4, 5, 6, 7, which will be exactly 2 more than Batman. So Mark has to go, but...
Yep. Thank you for teaching me. It's
Yep,
an interesting game. I might want to play with you some other time.
All right. So that was Dice Masters. Hopefully you all learned enough to get started with your own games. If you want to pick up, these are the 2 most recent starter sets. There are a lot of other cards. Each character usually comes with 3 versions per starter. There's also starters for D&D, X-Men, Yu-Gi-Oh! This is the Age of Ultron. That's the War of Light. There's also a Justice League one if you're into DC. So any of them are pretty good starting points. You can also see if there's any local players who have some extras available for you to toy with. Yeah, if you have any more questions from what you've seen today or anything else you want to know about the game, feel free to leave a comment or send us a message. I also have an account, team_WizPro, on Reddit. And you can also catch us on Facebook, either EJ Lucia or Josh Temple, in the Dice Masters discussion, or Dice Masters, what is the other one? I forget all this. Dice Masters Unlimited. So definitely check us out. I'm going to wrap up this video now. So I get to my computer. All right. Thank you for watching.